Hello again, welcome to my channel. This is going to be another one of those very simple, very key, important concepts about winning. So, as you can see, none of these players are going to be used, and I have many amazing players in the bench. Why? Because the limit for this tournament is 110%, and I can only use, like, minimum rule is like 20% players. So I don't have many of those, so I have to use 40% minimum players, which I bought straight from auctions, and I didn't even train. And you can see I'm using a striker in the position of MC. And then I'm using a DL, which is straight from auctions, right? But this guy is using a different setup. And this is the thing, it's like if you take priority in the way you build your team, you need to understand that you need high percentage players, and you need to draw percentage in only, this is important, you should write it down for every game that you play, just like have it in front of you. Low percentage in as few players as you can, and only in unimportant positions. So for me, those unimportant positions are 2 MCs and then DL and DR. And depending on the limit that you're playing, you're gonna use either only 2 MCs, which are gonna be very low, or 2 players, which are gonna be in the defense, DL and DR. And then the rest is gonna be as high as possible. So you're seeing his team, he has amazing players, he can put up a fight, but I totally destroy him 4-0 because he's not understanding that the engine, the simulation, is not gonna take those players and say you're gonna win, because again, he's dropping percentage in way too many players, and he cannot win like that. The simulation is not gonna give him the win. It's gonna be even worse. Doesn't matter how much training, good training, or how much percentage he has in other places, because he's low and pretty. I mean, there are 5 players there to lower percentage. Here you're gonna see something different. This guy is in the process of building his team, but he understands, and because he understands, I'm gonna have a tough match. Again, he's using only 2 players to lower percentage. The problem here is that if you are going to lower percentage in the MC, you probably are not gonna be using 3 MCs to do that. It's more efficient if you do it with only 2. And if you use only 2 MC and you have the luck to have a very negative MC, you can do it with only 1. So one of them is gonna be very high, say 160, and the other is gonna be very negative. But again, this guy's using 3 MCs, 2 of them are for lowering percentage. So, I mean, he's doing kind of the right thing, but not like enough so the engine is gonna say you can win. He can't win like that. But this is much better than the previous example where the guy was using 5 players to lower percentage. So that's not gonna pay off. And now a game from someone who shouldn't be competing in this engine.
I don't want to hurt you. You don't get it. Down here I make the rules. Down here I make the threats. Down here, I'm God.
Here you're gonna see 2 sides of the game. On one hand, you have a manager that is winning everything. This guy is winning everything. He's winning league, he's winning cup, he's winning champions. Amazing. But now we're in a friendly again, so it's not gonna be the same. He's not used to this. In friendlies, you don't have Nordeus fixing certain results. You don't have Nordeus trolling against mutants. So this is gonna be based on tactics, and it's gonna be based mainly on training. So because I have a better team than him, here that matters. And the results are gonna be very different. I mean, you will expect that a guy who is winning every single trophy every season, who is competing in friendly championships and is getting first, doesn't get this result. But he's gonna get a very, very unfavorable result because as I was explaining before, he's not using the understanding of lowering percentage in key formations, in key places where players are supposed to lose percentage. He's competing in a tournament where negative players are allowed, but he's not using negative players. And again, he has good training, but he doesn't have enough. So in league, he's not gonna be trolled for having mutants, but in a friendly, he's gonna be punished for not having mutants, and this is the result. And as I said, you know, he has well-trained players. There is a reason why he's first, why he's winning all the time, but this is an abysmal difference in the way the game is gonna show you one simulation here versus the main competitions. And this is one of the reasons why many managers ask me, you know, what kind of formation should I use, what kind of tactic? And my first question is this a main competition? And if it is, then I have nothing. There's nothing I can give you, because those main competitions do not rely on good training, do not rely on you having everything in your favor, support, you know, the premium sponsor, players on fire. It relies on a certain amount of algorithm, and you need to understand it, and that guy does. Well, now we have here, this guy is a legend, and his team is spectacular. I mean, there's no words for it. This is an amazing team, but he's making one mistake, and that is the same mistake that Peter did. You see it, right? It's like he's using 3MC and he's lowering quality on 1. Like, all he had to do to beat me, or had a chance to, say, have a very tight game, it was to use, instead of 3MC, 2MC, replace that extra MC for, say, an extra DC, and then have only 2 MCs, one of them being negative, the other one being, like, you know, not so high, but enough, like 120%. And that would have been a very different outcome. But the way the engine is set is so it has certain roles, certain positions, which gives priority. So if you have high percentage in those positions, you just don't get the same advantage as someone else who understands that. And he's understanding that you can lower percentage in the MC. What he's not understanding is that you're not supposed to put 3 MCs. You see that, you saw with Peter. That guy has an amazing team. This guy has an amazing, extraordinary team. But he's using 3. And since the MC is not so important, what he's doing is putting more men in positions that are not important. And so, again, even though he's lowering quality there, he's adding an extra man, and that, well, that pretty much gives me the win, and it's like a silver platter. And you're gonna see his I mean, amazing players he has. Let's please watch that. Yeah, I mean, there is no comparison, you know. And he's using everything. He has the premium sponsor. He knows what he's doing. He has experience. I mean, watch every single one of his players. Many of you are gonna have a tough time building something like this, and it's all lost on one single mistake, that he's using 1 extra man in a position where that is not so important. That's why people only use 2 MCs, because that position is not important. So if you put too many players there, you fall into the same mistake. But yeah, this is an amazing manager. That was just one tiny mistake, and it all came down to that. Here you're gonna appreciate that, because this is a higher percentage limit, this is at 130%, and because I need to use very negative players in order to play efficiently, he's gonna have the upper hand. So let me explain, right? This guy is repeating, but he's not repeating all the time. He's repeating every season. So there's a season where he's gonna do just fine, and then he repeats. So he accumulates negative players, but he gains a lot of percentage also. So he doesn't have to be spending a lot of money. And you get to see the kind of training that he's making. So this is a very powerful combination. But here's the thing. I don't have a bunch of 180, 190% players just roaming around, because I do promote. And this is a problem because for me, I have to use an MC that is not negative. Normally, I would respect the rule in which I will use an MC that is as negative as possible. But because I have to play at 130%, this demands for me to either train a player up to 180%, an important player, say a role such as striker or DC or goalkeeper or AML. See, if I use this player, which is a very negative player, and it's kind of like train, my percentage is gonna drop 7%. So I'm gonna be playing at 123% in a tournament that is at 130. This is the reason why I lost. In reality, I have much less percentage than him. I should fuck her in the Benz.